Thank you, everybody. I want to thank Professor Anil Tripathi and Mr. Rajnan. Next, we're going to talk about 100 years of impact. Our BHU has changed lives of many people and has brought 100 years of impact to our society, and will continue impacting many lives in the future. I would like to introduce Dr. Sarvajna Dwivedi, a 1984 graduate from our alma mater. He is also the co-founder of Pearl Therapeutics. Dr. Dwivedi holds MSc and PhD degrees in pharmaceutical sciences from the University of British Columbia and M.Pharm and B.Pharm from Banaras Hindu University. Please welcome Dr. Dwivedi. Thank you.
We can come back down to earth. So Prabhatam. So, Agyan Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Malviya ji is our Kulguru, Rashtra Guru, and even Vishwa Guru. So, as a student of pharmacy from Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, or BHU, from Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, I have had an opportunity to do things worldwide in many countries, in 3 continents, all focused on helping patients get better. That's the art I learned from Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya. But the art that I really learned was about Pradyogiki in BHU. How to become an industrialist, how to focus on the subject matter of industry in the world of pharmaceutical sciences. And all my training, all my path, my 30 years of Vanvas in North America, almost 30 years, has been focused just on that. So let me start you off with some of those concepts. But before I do that, let me introduce to you my 2 co-panelists here who really will be presenting the main theme of what we want to do here. In this particular panel, इस समारोह के इस अंश में हम लोगों का जो उद्देश्य है वो ये है कि काशी हिंदू विश्वविद्यालय प्रारंभ क्यों हुआ और काशी हिंदू विश्वविद्यालय में प्रौद्योगिकी प्रारंभ क्यों हुई और काशी हिंदू विश्वविद्यालय का प्रभाव क्या है, व्हाट वाज इट्स इम्पैक्ट, और काशी हिंदू विश्वविद्यालय का प्रभाव क्या हो सकता है भविष्य में। इस विषय पे चर्चा इस अंश में करेंगे हम लोग। Raising children, she chose to go back to studies and then she has become a really well-known scholar. She's a repository of wisdom and knowledge on Malviya ji. So she will spend her time talking about Malviya ji and his time at Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya. And please allow me to also invite Dr. Shekhar Shastri. शास्त्री जी प्रखर विद्वान हैं अपने विषय के, परंतु उससे भी अच्छे विद्वान हैं, वो उससे भी अच्छे वो वक्ता हैं कई भाषाओं में, संस्कृत में, हिंदी में, अंग्रेजी में। तो शास्त्री जी will be focusing on what can we do next, विश्वविद्यालय का प्रभाव आगे कैसे ले जाया जाए, इस विषय पर शास्त्री जी चर्चा करेंगे। And I will ask both of you to give more details of your own background when you please speak here, so everybody can understand the specifics rather than me mention those. But let me kick it off with just 2 or 3 slides. So may I get my first slide, please? Just in case. Yeah. So this is actually small font, so I'll have to read it for you. And that's where smartphones are so smart. Here we go. So, Malviya ji and Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, the middle emblem here on the top is the centenary emblem. Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya is celebrating its centenary. But when did Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya start? Malviya ji must have looked like the picture on the left when Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya was first conceived. Everybody remembers 1916 as the date when Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya was started. Actually, the concept was started in 1904 when he was barely 42-year-old, 43-year-old. Imagine at that young age thinking of something so big, something as powerful as Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya is, and as long-lasting a legacy it has become, and as much impactful as it still can be. Imagining that in 1904, when he was just about 43-year-old, coming from where he came from, it must have taken a special intellect. We all remember his picture on the right side, but the left picture is worth thinking of. Majority of us are, a lot of us are at that age or even younger. We can learn from what he has done. And if you, and the panel at the bottom, the picture at the bottom is actually a picture of the foundation of the university, objectives of the university as they were passed by the parliament in 1916. And if I read through it, I won't read those verbatim, but I will give you the essence. To promote study of Hindu Shastras and Sanskrit. Sanskrit and Sanskriti ki raksha. That was one of the primary aims. Then promote learning and research in arts and sciences. Arts and sciences combined. He was thinking way ahead. Then think of advancing and diffusing such scientific and professional knowledge with necessary practical training to help promote indigenous industries, Swadeshi Udyog, and developing material resources of the country. Desh ki sampada ka nirman aur vikas. And then final pieces, and this is actually, you rarely see this element anywhere. Promote the building up of character in youth by religion and ethics as an integral part of education. तो हमारे उपकुलपति साहब ने आज सवेरे ये हम लोगों को संदेश दिया. ये संदेश हम फिर से दोहराना चाहते हैं. It is something worth remembering that without ethics, without foundation in deep principles, you cannot become an industrialist and you cannot become a really great scientific mentor and leaders of the world. So that fourth bullet is the foundational bullet for everything else, in my opinion, humble opinion. And I think it really percolates through all of our lives. So let me sort of talk about, because to me what's more important is, since we are talking about IIT and Pradyogiki, to me what's more important is to set up this construct of Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya in the context of Udyog. And let me get the next slide, please. So this is a picture on the top of the report of Industrial Commission in 1918, 2 years after Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya was formed, Industrial Commission. And the report was so biased against indigenous work in India that somebody had to speak up, and Malviya ji was the #1 to speak up. And this is what he said. This I will read verbatim because you really need to hear the thoughts that came about, the depth of thinking that existed in here, and the self-confidence that these words exude, even when the country was being ruled and even when the parliament was going against indigenous industries. So what he said was, when the ancient tribes lived in the Western world, ये तो अनुवाद है, मूल शब्द ये थे, जब पश्चिमी यूरोप में आदिम जनजातियों का निवास था. In the Western Europe, England, you take anything else, आदिम जनजातियों का निवास था. उन दिनों भारत अपने शिल्पियों और बुनकरों की कला कौशल के लिए प्रख्यात था. आप सोचिए कितनी बड़ी बात है. ये अपने पास क्या संपत्ति है इसको विश्वास के साथ प्रस्तुत करना, ये मालवीय जी का गुण था. जब देश दूसरों के द्वारा रूल किया जाता तब उन्होंने ये बोला, यहाँ का लोहा और इस्पात का उद्योग 2000 वर्ष पूर्व पूर्णता प्राप्त कर चुका था. It was a mature industry 2000 years before when आदिम जनजाति lived in Western Europe. और उसकी वस्तुएं विश्व भर में निर्यात होती थी भारत से. ये प्रौद्योगिकी भारत की, लेकिन हमारी क्षमताओं को गलत ढंग से पेश करने और भारतीय उद्योगों का चेहरा बदलने की सोची समझी कोशिश की जा रही है। 1918 आज 2016 है, and I will connect the two things together shortly. मैं भारतीय उद्योगों के संदर्भ में अपनी राय दर्ज करना चाहता हूँ. So what he said was, I want to change the way the world thinks about Bharatiya Udyog, and he said, these are the three principles we should follow, and this actually did transform the country. स्थानीय कच्चे माल का उपयोग किया जाए, local raw materials should be used. नए नए उद्योगों की स्थापना हो या नए नए उद्योग शुरू किए जाएं, new industries, and industrialists actually started doing that in 20s and 30s in India. And तीसरा, इकोनॉमिस्ट इन मालवीय जी, पंडित मदन मोहन मालवीय जी हैं, पर किस लेवल पे ये सोच रहे हैं आप देखिए, मुनाफा देश में ही रहे. The profit should not go back to the colonial rulers. That was his thinking. That was his way of revolutionizing thinking. That was his way of revolutionizing the investors, the industrialists, and a year after that, Banco was formed. 1919. So remember where we come from. We come from the days when the mindset in the country was against indigenous industry, when the mindset in the country was against establishing Bharat as a leader. Now where we are in 2016, we have the youngest country in the world. Modi ji was elected on the campaign of India as the youngest country. Tomorrow it will be probably the oldest country in the world. We have a chance to prepare the country, and all of us together, no matter where we live, our roots are still back there, to prepare the country for the next century. And Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, regardless of how IIT gets administratively structured, has an opportunity to combine its ethics, its religious foundations, its structure, its teachings in philosophy, its sciences, its arts, and its pratyogiki, regardless of how it's administratively structured, together to be the leader in the coming century. So that's my foundation for this panel. Now, more deeper scholars than me would speak on this further. So let me invite Leah to talk a little bit more about Malvi ji. And raising children, she chose to go back to studies, and then she has become a really, really well-known scholar. She's a repository of wisdom and knowledge on Malvi ji. So she will spend her time talking about Malvi ji and his time at Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya. And please allow me to also invite Dr. Shekhar Shastri. शास्त्री जी प्रखर विद्वान हैं अपने विषय के, परंतु उससे भी अच्छे विद्वान हैं, वो उससे भी अच्छे वो वक्ता हैं कई भाषाओं में, संस्कृत में, हिंदी में, अंग्रेजी में. तो शास्त्री जी will be focusing on what can we do next. विश्वविद्यालय का प्रभाव आगे कैसे ले जाया जाए, इस विषय पर शास्त्री जी चर्चा करेंगे. And I will ask both of you to give more details of your own background when you please speak here, so everybody can understand the specifics rather than me mention those. But let me kick it off with just 2 or 3 slides. So may I get my first slide, please? Just in case. Yeah. So this is actually small font, so I'll have to read it for you. That's where smartphones are so smart. Here we go. So, Malvi ji and Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, the middle emblem here on the top is the centenary emblem. Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya is celebrating its centenary. But when did Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya start? Malvi ji must have looked like the picture on the left when Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya was first conceived. Everybody remembers 1916 as the date when Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya was started. Actually, the concept was started in 1904 when he was barely 43-year-old. Imagine at that young age thinking of something so big, something as powerful as Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya is, and as long-lasting a legacy it has become, and as much impactful as it still can be. Imagining that in 1904, when he was just about 43-year-old, coming from where he came from, it must have taken a special intellect. We all remember his picture on the right side, but the left picture is worth thinking of. Majority of us are, a lot of us are at that age or even younger. We can learn from what he has done. And if you, and the panel at the bottom, the picture at the bottom is actually a picture of the foundation of the university, objectives of the university as they were passed by the parliament in 1916. And if I read through it, I won't read those verbatim, but I will give you the essence. To promote study of Hindu Shastras and Sanskrit. Sanskrit and Sanskriti ki raksha. That was one of the primary aims. Then promote learning and research in arts and sciences. Arts and sciences combined. He was thinking way ahead. Then think of advancing and diffusing such scientific and professional knowledge with necessary practical training to help promote indigenous industries, Swadeshi Udyog, and developing material resources of the country. Desh ki sampada ka nirman aur vikas. And then final pieces, and this is actually, you rarely see this element anywhere. Promote the building up of character in youth by religion and ethics as an integral part of education. So हमारे उपकुलपति साहब ने आज सवेरे ये हम लोगों को संदेश दिया. ये संदेश हम फिर से दोहराना चाहते हैं. It is something worth remembering that without ethics, without foundation in deep principles, you cannot become an industrialist and you cannot become a really great scientific mentor and leaders of the world. So that fourth bullet is the foundational bullet for everything else, in my opinion, humble opinion. And I think it really percolates through all of our lives. So let me sort of talk about, because to me what's more important is, since we are talking about IIT and Pradyogiki, to me what's more important is to set up this construct of Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya in the context of Udyog. And let me get the next slide, please. So this is a picture on the top of the report of Industrial Commission in 1918, 2 years after Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya was formed, Industrial Commission. And the report was so biased against indigenous work in India that somebody had to speak up, and Malaviya was the number one to speak up. And this is what he said. This I will read verbatim because you really need to hear the thoughts that came about, the depth of thinking that existed in here, and the self-confidence that these words exude, even when the country was being ruled and even when the parliament was going against indigenous industries. So what he said was, when the ancient tribes lived in the Western world, ये तो अनुवाद है, मूल शब्द ये थे, जब पश्चिमी यूरोप में आदिम जनजातियों का निवास था. In the Western Europe, England, you take anything else, आदिम जनजातियों का निवास था. उन दिनों भारत अपने शिल्पियों और बुनकरों के कला कौशल के लिए प्रख्यात था. आप सोचिए कितनी बड़ी बात है. ये अपने पास क्या संपत्ति है इसको विश्वास के साथ प्रस्तुत करना, ये मालवीय जी का गुण था. जब देश दूसरों के द्वारा रूल किया जाता तब उन्होंने ये बोला. यहाँ का लोहा और इस्पात का उद्योग 2000 वर्ष पूर्व पूर्णता प्राप्त कर चुका था. It was a mature industry 2000 years before when आदिम जनजाति lived in Western Europe. और उसकी वस्तुएं विश्व भर में निर्यात होती थी भारत से. ये प्रौद्योगिकी भारत की. लेकिन हमारी क्षमताओं को गलत ढंग से पेश करने और भारतीय उद्योगों का चेहरा बदलने की सोची समझी कोशिश की जा रही है. 1918 से पेश करने और भारतीय उद्योगों का चेहरा बदलने की सोची समझी कोशिश की जा रही है. 1918 आज 2016 है. And I will connect the two things together shortly. मैं भारतीय उद्योगों के संदर्भ में अपनी राय दर्ज करना चाहता हूँ. So what he said was, I want to change the way the world thinks about Bharatiya Udyog. And he said, these are the three principles we should follow. And this actually did transform the country.
स्थानीय कच्चे माल का उपयोग किया जाए. Local raw materials should be used. नए नए उद्योगों की स्थापना हो या नए नए उद्योग शुरू किए जाएं. New industries, and industrialists actually started doing that in 20s and 30s in India. And तीसरा, economists in मालवीय जी, पंडित मदन मोहन मालवीय जी हैं, पर किस लेवल पे ये सोच रहे हैं आप देखिए, मुनाफा देश में ही रहे. The profit should not go back to the colonial rulers. That was his thinking. That was his way of revolutionizing thinking. That was his way of revolutionizing the investors, the industrialists, and a year after that, Benko was formed. 1919. So remember where we come from. We come from the days when the mindset in the country was against indigenous industry. When the mindset in the country was against establishing Bharat as a leader. Now where we are in 2016, we have the youngest country in the world. Modi ji was elected on the campaign of India as the youngest country. Tomorrow it will be probably the oldest country in the world. We have a chance to prepare the country, and all of us together, no matter where we live, our roots are still back there, to prepare the country for the next century. And Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, regardless of how IIT gets administratively structured, has an opportunity to combine its ethics, its religious foundations, its structure, its teachings in philosophy, its sciences, its arts, and its praudyogiki, regardless of how it's administratively structured, together to be the leader in the coming century. So that's my foundation for this panel. Now, more deeper scholars than me would speak on this further, so let me invite Leah to talk a little bit more about Malviya ji and a little bit more, give us a little bit more of her perspectives on Malviya ji and Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, and then Shastri ji.
Hello everyone, namaste. मेरा नाम Leah Renold, a Itihas professor, Texas Vishwavidyalaya. I have come a long way, not in distance, but in a long spiritual journey, a long intellectual journey. Is that better? Is that good? Okay. So, I first went to India in January 1976. I thought I knew the truth. I was a very young and ignorant Christian fundamentalist. I was on my way to one of those mission trips, going to save some Hindus. And a strange thing that happened though, as soon as they opened the door of the airplane so we could walk down the steps in Bombay, the warm air and smells rushed in, and I had a really strange sense, like, of relief, like I was home. And what happened to me, I stayed for 4 years before returning to Texas. And it was a life-changing experience for me. And what happened to me is, I was with this Christian group, but I started getting to know the other women, the Hindu housewives. And I was so impressed with their character, their patience, how they lived their lives, that my mind started opening. They behave much better than I do. And so it was through their behavior that I started opening my mind. So I went back to Texas as a very different person. I married, had children, married a Christian pastor. But as my children grew older, all I could think about was learning more about India. And so I went back for a master's degree. I studied Sanskrit. We read a lot of Dharma Shastra texts at the University of Texas in Austin. And finally, when my children were in high school, I went back to India to do a PhD. And I showed up in the registrar's office, in the central office at BHU, and I had a proposal to study the history of BHU, and I needed to see all the university records. So what do you think happened? Nothing. I waited and waited and waited. I got back an envelope with my proposal in it. There was a big red mark across it and said rejected. So I went and did all the other work I could. Now all my work was very limited. It's a historical dissertation. I was supposed to find all the documents I could on the history of BHU. And I went to the British Library in London, the National Archives, the UP Archives in Lucknow, Benares Regional Archives, did everything I could. But I could not complete that dissertation without those BHU records. So I started saying a lot of prayers. My research assistant had a really amazing, like a 2-hour puja performed for me at Larkund. And then I had the very unfortunate happening of fainting dead away while Pandit Malaviya's grandson, Girdhar, was giving a talk at BHU. But I got his attention and got to meet him and visit with him at his home in Allahabad. And he finally interviewed and got me an appointment with God, with the Vice Chancellor of BHU. Except on my day of my appointment, the students were holding a bund and the university gates were shut. So I had to talk to them through the gate and tell them I'd come all the way from Texas and basically my life depended on getting in to see the Vice Chancellor. And they let me in and I eventually got to see the records and finish my dissertation. So I'm going to have to tell you honestly that what I read a little bit about BHU and Pandit Malaviya for my readings for my PhD. But the attitude towards Pandit Malaviya by the U.S. historians of South Asia was that Pandit Malaviya was a communalist, a promoter of violence, and basically a Hindu nationalist. And my advisor expected me to go out and prove that. But what I found at BHU was pretty amazing. And I found a school that was open to ideas, all kind of ideas, that had amazing teachers. I had a really hard time convincing my professor that there was nothing that I'd been told that was true about BHU. So, just a moment here. So I found a place where the university created a living environment that did not segregate students according to status. The religion, caste, and wealth of the families of the students were not a factor in determining where a student resided. Students of differing backgrounds lived under the same roof. Only vegetarian food was allowed, so most of the students dined together as well, eating the same food. If any students took objection, though, they were allowed to set up their own kitchens. Pandit Malaviya even allowed one non-veg kitchen. Pandit Malaviya was ahead of his time in so many ways. He believed in a true liberal education and wanted students to be exposed to a wide range of ideas. He allowed speakers to come to campus who held a wide variety of views, even those he did not support personally. Pandit Malaviya allowed the RSS to build a small building on campus for their athletic equipment, but he also allowed the Marxist students to develop their own club. In 1920, when Gandhiji was calling for students to drop out of university and join the boycott movement as volunteers, Pandit Malaviya was in strong disagreement. He believed that students should first be educated before engaging in political activity. An education would give them an understanding of the political realities and the ability to judge matters for themselves. For Malaviya, the entire Hindu university was a means of resistance to British dominance, bringing forth the past accomplishments of India in the academic courses on ancient literature and culture, the presentation of an Indian point of view in subjects such as history, political science, modern fields of education, especially technology and science, were all vital in promoting a sense of pride that would no longer stand for British governance of India. Pandit Malaviya knew that BHU, in educating the youth of India, was making a major contribution to the Home Rule movement. Nevertheless, he warmly welcomed Gandhi to the campus and allowed him to make his appeal to the students to withdraw from their studies. So, I got my dissertation done. Oxford University published the book. Since it was just basically based on documents, I knew it was very, very limited. And, but I was very, very impressed with Pandit Malaviya, and saw that Western perceptions of him had been quite distorted. So I wanted to continue my work to research Pandit Malaviya. And so I said, okay, I've published one book, I can do this history stuff. And I applied for a grant through the American Institute of Indian Studies to write a book on the importance of Pandit Malaviya as a major Indian nationalist. I got back a rejection letter saying that Pandit Malaviya was not an important Indian nationalist. He was a Hindu nationalist and therefore not a nationalist. So I was really, really discouraged because I thought history was about truth. And so I kind of gave up on publishing and writing for a while. But I am finally back at it again, working with the former PRO of BHU on writing a true history of someone I've come to greatly admire, Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya. Thank you. He would be so proud of all of you in this amazing alumni association.
Thank you, Leah. A little bit, as Sarvajna said, about my own journey. I went to Banaras to study electrical engineering and graduated in '79. And fast forward many years later, so the tradition is that you go to Banaras to study something else traditionally, right? I wanted to learn cutting edge technology. Many years later, I came to America. Why do you come to America? To learn cutting edge technology, right? What did I end up learning? I learned Sanskrit. and I learned our deep heritage of India. So apart from my own split life, one of which has been spent as a Bell Lab scientist, as a Silicon Valley a technologist, and working on Wall Street, I also teach Sanskrit poetry at MIT. And I had never studied Sanskrit in India. I really wanted to be on the cutting edge. But life has its own plan, own destiny. So that's so much about myself. Now I want to actually just talk about what is the connection with Banaras, which the deeper dimensions, and I only discovered many decades after leaving BHU. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Before BHU started, as Sarvajna mentioned, there were some challenges that India was facing, and some of those were pretty stark. That India's contribution to the world GDP had dwindled within 100 years, from 25% to 1%. The per capita income had actually just been abnormal compared to the rest of the world. And the British rule and India's poverty was staggering. 99% people below poverty line. And the whole endless cycle of taxation on the Indians, the famine cycles, had led to tens of millions of deaths. These things are not taught in Indian schools in such stark terms. And the rapid pace, while Britain and Europe was on the path of industrialization, there was a policy of deindustrializing India. And if you want to look at the specific characteristics, the connection with education was the illiteracy under Macaulay's education policy, which was instituted in 1835. It was 73%. And in the subsequent 65 to 70 years, it became 94%. So when Sarvajna mentioned there was a meeting in 1904 of these people in Banaras concerned about how to revive India's economy, it was with great concern. And towards that, what they came up with, and they came up with a charter, part of which Sarvajna read out also, is that at the heart of it, if you want to go to the next slide, is that the path of prosperity starts with education, which is grounded in culture. Because the key idea is that unless people have a clear Indian identity, they will never be able to become leaders. Otherwise, the young population just wanted to be like the British. And so to stem that flow, the torrent in the direction of becoming the Sahab, the Vilayati Sahab, they said the key is culture. And this was really it's very easy to think right now, but over 100 years back, that was revolutionary. Who wanted to be like those begging Indians, the poor Indians? And our own culture had been derided as something that was full of superstition. It was meaningless. But however, for them, the pinnacle of human achievement was the kind of culture that India had been able to accomplish over thousands of years. And that had to be the basis of education. And what would the result of such an education? The creation of independent thinking leaders who would be able to bring self-rule. And this is where Malviyaji's Leah mentioned briefly, but Malviyaji was also part of the Legislative Council, the British Legislative Council in Delhi. And he argued, he was a very successful lawyer, he argued the case for a Hindu university. By Hindu, he meant something that was based on Indian culture. It is not necessarily a religion per se, but something that was akin to, that was pulled together India from its own roots, the culture that the India is grounded in. And then that would lead to the prosperity of India. So that was quite revolutionary for that time. Enough said that about actually just past. What I want to say right now is the vision of founders. It has been actually stated already since for the past few hours. So there was a vision of the founders to create an educational institution, to create generations of leaders who would be not just proud, who would be able to create revolutionary ideas, who would be able to transform the country, right? But the vision of the founders of the BHU is yet to be fulfilled. Let's look at what lies ahead. For all of us who have benefited, who are connected with Banaras Hindu University and Banaras, because traditionally, when people came to Banaras, what did they come for compared to, let's say you go to a Ivy League university over here, okay? You go to Harvard, you go to Stanford or Princeton or whatever, just university. You acquire titles, you get degrees. Over time, you become heavier and heavier, right? With labels and distinctions. But when you came for knowledge to Banaras, the process was just the reverse of that. You kept taking away. You had less and less to associate until you were left with one single thing, which was your authentic self. Because knowledge could be equated with self-knowledge. And Banaras Hindu University is also based on the same fundamental principle. The vision of the founders of BHU, Malviyaji and N. Besant. And also I would like to acknowledge Raja of Darbhanga and Maharaja of Banaras. These are really crucial, they played important role in different aspects in building the Banaras Hindu University. Those founders, they talked about Malviyaji and Annie Besant. They have written extensively, Leah, about the sense of shame that the Indian youth were exhibiting about their Indian identity, right? And in 100 years since, this is what I have to say, is that the sense of shame has only gotten amplified. It has gotten magnified by orders of magnitude. That is the challenge for educationists, that is the challenge for Indian leaders, and for all of us who feel a connection with India and with Banaras.
Years since, this is what I have to say, is that the sense of shame has only gotten amplified. It has gotten magnified by orders of magnitude. That is the challenge for educationists, that is the challenge for Indian leaders, and for all of us who feel a connection with India and with Banaras. And this is exhibited in the fact that yoga, Ayurveda, classical music, all these things have become household things and popular in India only after it got a stamp of approval in the West. So when Malviyaji and Annie Besant saw that the British education was stripping away our core strength, that phenomena has not stopped. It continues. However, there is something really special that Banaras has to offer, specifically BHU has to offer, because of the many, many departments, the disciplines that have been created. But what is missing is a new synthesis. Professor Tripathi earlier I just talked about that we have to look across boundaries, right? We have to look at the edges of knowledge. Physicists and physical scientists, when they study right now, they're confounded how to concile it with cognition. Right now, as a result, scientists are looking at the role of consciousness. which other culture or civilization provides real deep insight into this aspect? How does the body heal? The biologists, physicians, the researchers are looking at how does the body heal? What is love? What is relationship? Why do you feel a special bond with another person? It is simply some chemicals, but you talk about chemistry, but what is it? For that, you have to study our Sahitya, you have to study Natya Shastra, you have to look at actually the whole Alankar Shastra, where there is a deep conversation about what is possible between human beings on an individual basis, in relationship, as a society. There is much that can be accomplished, but for that, one need not just have pride. One has to design the campus. So if you want to go to the next slide, Malviya ji mentioned that ये मैंने जो विश्वविद्यालय का ये लेआउट बनाया है वो एक नाचते मोर की तरह है, just like a dancing peacock, which is full of colors, full of delight. And as he was in older age, he said, guys, think of it. In future, please maintain the diversity and the colors that I have tried to actually just create across this campus. Right? And one of the things that he specifically mentioned there also is that this Sanskrit shlok there, which says Nirgunasya Shrirasya Ek Mahan Guna. A person who has no qualities has one specific quality, which is to be satisfied with the status quo. Which means never become comfortable with the status quo. Invent yourself anew every single moment. So here is a challenge for all of us, and there is a new synthesis that India has repeatedly given to the world, and that is what is possible again. So it's not necessary for India, BHU to build itself as a poor shadow of the Western education system, because there are disruptive forces right now, which has already been mentioned by scholars here, which are forcing the universities and the education system to look themselves anew. You can learn without paying a single dollar right now through the MOOCs. So what is it specially that any institution, it is not just a Buffalo University or LTU, it is a challenge for BHU as well. So if we have been forceful and if we have been so courageous in the past, whether it was Panini or Patanjali or Chanakya, let's be courageous again, that we can think anew on our own terms with great confidence and create new paradigms of education. And to be able to actually disrupt our own, what we have been doing for the past 100 years, and create new synthesis because the world needs it. Thank you.
Renold, do we have time for some questions?
Maybe one question.
Okay. Let's give it to the floor. If there's a question on the floor, let's entertain it from the floor. Anyone? Perhaps I can ask this to both of you. Just quick answers.
I would like to give a quick comment.
Sure,
Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan is conducting a 2-week workshop at IIT BHU for students and teachers. That is one point that has been taken up, and the institute administration has sounded all the departments to somehow go and cultivate and find out the knowledge that is available in Sanskrit scriptures regarding science and technology, and efforts should be taken up to promote research involving the plethora of knowledge that is available in our scriptures.
That's great. So just extending that thought, actually, one thing I was going to say in my closing remarks was that under the leadership of our current Vice Chancellor, we have Kashi English Vidyalaya has instituted Bharat Adhyayan Kendra, which is not a trivial project. Those of you who are not aware of it, it's almost a 1,000 crore rupees project. And maybe Vice Chancellor will want to comment further on that, which actually bridges the ancient and modern. So.
Some new initiatives have been taken by university administration and subsequently appreciated by government also. And one is Bharat Adhyayan Kendra. As I said earlier, India had been in a position to provide solutions to most of the problems, social, political, cultural, economic, historical. For example, there is an issue of peace. It is the philosophy and India's approach to life and universe that provides solution of this issue in true sense and spirit. It is Indian philosophy which goes to say that this creation is nothing but manifestation of Almighty. This is the principle of Indian philosophy. So the very next principle of Indian philosophy goes to say that this planet is a family. पहला जो सिद्धांत सृष्टि के निर्माण का था, एको हम बहुश्याम, परमात्मा की शिक्षा कि मैं अकेला हूँ अनेक रूपों में प्रकट हूँ, इससे सृष्टि का निर्माण हुआ. अर्थात this creation is nothing but manifestation of Almighty. So this planet is a family. When this planet is a family, the very next principle of Indian philosophy is let all be happy. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः. परिवार में एक आदमी परेशान है तो सब परेशान होते हैं. कभी किसी को परेशान देखे, क्या हुआ, क्या बताएं, माँ की तबीयत ठीक नहीं, पिताजी ठीक नहीं, वो पत्नी ठीक नहीं, बेटा ठीक नहीं. तो जब तक सब सुखी नहीं, लेट ऑल बी हैप्पी. दूसरा, व्हाट आई एम सेइंग मे बी करेक्ट, व्हाट यू से मे बी करेक्ट. एंड द थर्ड वन गोज टू से मे बी बेटर देन बोथ ऑफ अस. So let noble thoughts come from all corners of universe. Ano bhadra kritavo yantu vishwatah. What you say is correct, I am saying may also be correct. What third one says may be better than both of us. So there is only one way out. Sangachadvam, samvadadvam, samvo manansi janatam. Let us come together, sit together, think together and walk together. So we have decided to institute Bharat Adhyayan Kendra, and by this way, the very objective of university administration is to develop BHU as a center of soft power of India. By this way, we will be able to increase India's soft power in neighboring countries and elsewhere in the world. Number two, we have also decided to institute one more center, Mahamana Center for Ganga River Development and Water Resource Management. We all know that civilization and rivers go together, and growing flow of civilization has put rivers into crisis. So there is a need to develop rivers, otherwise civilization will be in crisis. So another center is Center for Climate Change Study, and one more center for green energy. So these are some new initiatives University administration has decided to take up. So,
just close the panel. Everybody is ready for lunch. Dhanyavad.